Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Isaac. Today we're going to look at grammatical units. Now you will notice that when you read a passage, it may be a long text or just a short story or even a whole textbook, you will notice the text is not just made up of individual letters scattered all over the place. No, you will have words. These letters, individual letters, are put together to form words, and then the words will be arranged to make sentences. The combination of these sentences will be the text you read. If you want to write as well, maybe you want to write a letter or a story or an essay, you won't just have to put together, you just use letters. You're not going to just use letters or uh, scatter all your letters around. You will have to form words using these individual letters to form words, and you will arrange these words in a very logical way to produce sentences. I like to compare that to building a house. You will first lay your foundation, and you will have your bricks or blocks, and you will lay these bricks carefully. Sometimes your house may even have pillars or columns. You may have lintel, and then you will build all of this to a point where you will have to roof it. And even the roofing has other components. You may have your planks. You will make uh, a lot of things. Ceiling will be there before you put in your roofing sheet or whatever it is that you want to use to roof your house. And then you will have a beautiful structure. That is how it is with writing, uh, or when you're reading a text. You will first have to identify these structures, these small units, put them together logically in a way that at the end of the day you're going to have meaning. Now, that is to tell you that the grammatical units are very important. If you don't understand what these units are or the meaning that they carry, it will be very difficult for you to write a good essay. And you might also struggle when you're reading because you won't quite understand the meaning of these words or the units, the grammatical units that are made up your text or the composition you're reading. Um, in today's class, I'm going to list some of the grammatical units we have, and then we take them one after the other and treat them in detail. I will start with the smallest down to the largest. Morpheme. From morphemes, you get words. If you put together words, you get phrase. A combination of phrases gives you clause. From clauses, you get sentence. Then your sentence will give you your text. So your long text or the short text you have is made up of sentences. And these sentences are built from clauses. Clauses are made from phrases. You put together words to produce phrases, and then words are built from morphemes. Now you have it. So a morpheme is the smallest meaningful grammatical unit. What is a morpheme? A morpheme is simply described as the smallest meaningful grammatical unit. It is meaningful because it has to make sense. It is the smallest because you cannot divide it any further. You can break it down. So the morpheme is the least. It's indivisible. You can break it down into other bits. Um, if you have to break a morpheme down into bits, then you have individual letters. And these individual letters might not make sense. They may not have a grammatical meaning. So if you want to get meaning, then the least you go is morpheme. Of course, sometimes your morpheme can be just a letter or combination of letters, but each morpheme should have grammatical meaning. So let's make that very clear. What is a morpheme? What is a morpheme? A morpheme is the smallest meaningful grammatical unit. It has to make meaning. I mentioned earlier that a morpheme could be just a letter or letters. So even if it's just one letter, such as S or D, it must make sense. Sometimes you have E, D. It must make sense. S, for example, as a morpheme, can make a word plural. So you can change the word from being single to plural. D or ED, for example, can change a word from present to past. That means this one, and this, even though they're just, especially these two, even though they're just individual letters, they're also morpheme because they have grammatical meaning. They have grammatical meaning. If there is no grammatical meaning, then it can be a morpheme. Now, let's look at the kinds of morphemes we have. There are different types of morphemes. A morpheme can be a word or just a letter or letters. If it is a word, it means that is the smallest or the least you can break that word. If it is just a combination of letters, maybe one or two letters or even three letters, it means these letters are grammatically meaningful. And of course, you can break them down further, more than what you already have. Let's take this word. For instance, key. Key is a morpheme because it is meaningful, and this is the least you can go with this word. You cannot divide it into any other unit or portion. Once you break this, then the meaning is lost. Board. Board is a word. It's also a morpheme. How? It is a word because it has meaning like this, and it's of course a morpheme because it has meaning, and you cannot break it down. You can't break this down anymore. Once you break any part of this, then the meaning is lost. You can put together these two morphemes to give you a word. So you can say keyboard. Keyboard. Keyboard is now one word from these two morphemes. So you can put together morphemes to produce words. This is a morpheme, this is also a morpheme, and then we put them together to produce word. Let's take another example. Say teach. Teach is a word. Well, I don't know if that is or not. It's not a word. You have ER. This is not a word because it cannot make sense on its own this way. But it's a morpheme because it has meaning grammatically. How? If I want to realize this meaning, I put it together with this morpheme, teach. Now I have teacher from teach and ed. That means these letters here are meaningful. If you put them together with this one, you produce a word. This one is a morpheme. This also is a morpheme. But they're not exactly the same. Yes, especially in terms of the form or structure, and then in terms of meaning. And that brings us to the types of morphemes that we have. There are different types of morphemes, and we can describe these morphemes based on the meaning they carry and also the structure. Types of morphemes based on the meaning they carry and the structure they have. You have free morphemes and bound morphemes. A free morpheme can stand on its own and make sense. That means it can be a word on its own. So this is a free morpheme. It can stand on its own without any other help from any other morpheme, and it will make sense. It doesn't need support from any other morpheme. It can make sense on its own that way. Board. It's also a free morpheme because it can stand on its own and make sense. A and S and are morphemes, but they cannot make sense independently. They don't have any uh, meaning this way. The meaning can only be realized if they're added to the free morphemes. Yeah, if you have this added to the free morphemes, then the meaning will come out. So let's see how these morphemes can be meaningful if we combine them with the free morphemes. Say teach plus this gives you teacher, and you have maybe bank plus s. Bank plus s gives you banks. So you have plural. This one is just one bank. Here you have more than one bank. This is a morpheme. This also is a morpheme. This one is the free morpheme. This one is the bound morpheme. On, maybe you have a word like this, known. Known is a morpheme. It's a free morpheme. If you add on, then you get unknown. One word. This is a word. You add your bound morpheme to the free morpheme to produce a word. So, based on meaning, there are two types of morphemes based on meaning. You have the free morphemes and then the bound morphemes. The free morphemes can be words. That means on their own, they can make sense. The bound morphemes could be a letter or letters. But this letter or letters must have grammatical meaning. The meaning might not be realized when they occur in isolation, but if you put them together, then you will see the meaning. Here, we know that known is different from unknown. Bank is different from banks. Teach is different from teacher, simply because we've added these morphemes to these words. So the free morphemes will have meaning on their own. The bound morphemes will not be meaningful if they are in isolation until you add them to the free morphemes before they make sense. Now you can think of other morphemes, both free morphemes and bound morphemes that you have. What is the importance of all of this? We're going to look at that shortly in our next class. But for now, let us think of other morphemes that we know. So let's make a table of free morphemes and bound morphemes and how to put them together. Let's say free morpheme here, free, bound, and then the word. We can start with, say, mango. We have legal, present, we have fate, we have success, we have mark. Let's put a line here and then E S E R E okay, let's change change success to say kind. Let's change it to kind. So we have ness and let's say D. What will be the resulting words? Mango gives you mangoes. Lego gives you illegal. Present says represent. Fate, faithful. Kind, kindness. Mark, marked. Don't forget, you can put together three morphemes to produce words, and those are called compound words. And you can put together bound morphemes. You add bound morphemes to free morphemes to produce words. Now, the key difference is that the bound morphemes cannot make sense on its own until it is added to the free morphemes. The free morphemes, on the other hand, can on their own make sense. But you can put together two free morphemes as well to produce one word, and you call that a compound word. If it is not a morpheme, then it cannot accept another morpheme. Thank you. In our next class, we are going to look at the importance of these morphemes.